you basically what is possible. So suppose you have 4 stocks and you can choose 2 of them, any 2 of them to invest, to build a portfolio. Then then you might have this idea that oil prices may actually impact the value of these stocks. So you imagine yourself to be in this position where you buy some stocks, then the oil prices change. They either will be high or they will be low. And depending on where they fall, the values of these stocks change to either being high or low, right? So something simple like that. So if you pick Tesla, for example, you might have the idea that a high oil price will actually cause Tesla to also go up in value, because people will switch from expensive oil cars that are now relatively more expensive, burn oil, to cars that are less expensive on a daily basis, like Tesla, right? So then Tesla will increase in value and GM will fall in value. And likewise, Getlink, which is a train company that owns the Eurolink, will increase in value because people will substitute away from, say, air travel, where Boeing then will lose in value because they're building airplanes and the demands for airplanes generally decrease when the cost of air travel increases. So you might have such a model, and then you might think about the oil prices, and you might make predictions, and you could make them collectively again, and then you could sort of make the prediction essentially to what extent will this oil price affect Tesla versus GM and so on. And then you can, and also to, what is the probability that the oil price will be high or it will be low. And then when you combine all of those, you get a profit that sort of pops out when you then, when you calculate how these prices are affected. What you will get is various decisions that will turn out to be better than others under various states of the world, which is the, what I'm talking about is the oil price. Really, states of they're sort of exogenous to you, right? So you don't decide what the oil price will be. You just hope to guess correctly that it will be as you think, and together. Basically, instead of just guessing the weight of an ox, what people here are guessing is really how much profit do you make when you buy Tesla and GM together, and the oil prices go either up or down. In either case, I want to make money, right? So then you have to think this through. And anyway, collectively you can, and then the collective can then pick the best bundle under all circumstances, or under a particular circumstance that is particularly likely. So that's really for intelligence, right? So you can see how collectives can become more intelligent by thinking through such puzzles together, right? By essentially betting and putting their skin in the game, right? So it's not just voting; it's really what really makes the difference is the incentive structure here. So if you can win money by being right, and being also what this has some properties that are really interesting, and that is that if you are right and you're out of the box, you're betting against most of the people, and you happen to be right, you tend to make a lot more money than if you're just right and with everybody. So this gives you the right incentives. It gives you the incentives to really think out of the box from all of the other people, and at the same time try to be right. But if you're wrong, you actually also lose less if you're on the less trodden path. So then that brings me to ethics. So you on top of that you want to also add the ability to think about ethics. So and there are these strange puzzles that people are asked for many years now in various experiments and ethical experiments. And for example, this one. So imagine yourself at a switchboard for a train, and the train is coming at a pretty fast speed, and as it is going now, it will run over 5 people. But you're in the position to switch the train, the train's course, such that it can only run over 1 person. Who would want to switch, and who would want to not do anything? Yeah, this is a very tough problem, and certain problems like this, they might take some time to resolve, and they may never be satisfactorily solved. And actually, I want to give another example to drive this home that is a little bit different, has a different character. That sort of struck me the first time when I was in Professor Amartya Sen's course on welfare economics and inequality, and he brought out this problem, and it made me think quite a lot, and I'm still thinking about it, and I still can't resolve it, right? So imagine you have 3 children, A, B, and C. We can give them names like Ann, Bob, and I don't know, Christina, if you will. And they have the following problem. They want to decide who shall have the flute. So they have a flute between the 3 of them, but they're coming to a crossroads where they have to split indefinitely. And one of the children can only take this one flute that they have. And so the first child says that she should get the flute because she can play it. She's the only one among them who can actually play the flute. The second one says that it has actually it made the flute. So child B actually made the flute. And thinks, because I made the flute, I should keep the flute, And child C says, that out of all 3 of us, really I'm the only child who has no toys, no other toys. I have nothing else. So I should be left with the flute. So who do you give the flute to, right? And so these are problems that are ultimately not resolvable. So you could say a utilitarian in particular would give child A the flute because she can play it. A libertarian would give the flute to the child who made the flute, and an egalitarian would give the flute to the child who has nothing else. And so in essence that comes down to the group's preference rather than to some way to solve the problem that is ultimately right in some universal way. And in fact there is no institution that can solve this problem. There's no way that you can get this right? So you're always going to have to make some choice that is going to go against some acceptable way and some reasonable way essentially to look at the world. And so but the good thing is when you have a platform that understands that this is actually among the problems that is unsolvable in an ultimate sort of universal way, that actually helps people argue. That's my argument, right? So what you need to have, like what our platform will allow, is it will allow to divide the world into problems that are in essence, there's some correct answer to them, and problems that are not like that, right? So and there are some regions that will be forever irreconcilable. And what you can do to solve such problems is to give people something like storable votes. So you can have, let's say, 12 votes for the year, and you get to use as many votes as you want for each of the issues that come up. So let's say you have issues that come up over time, and there's one that you really care about. Then you can use all of your votes there, and then you cannot vote in any of the other contests, but you can essentially allocate your power to things that interest you more, that you actually are more excited about, versus as you wish, essentially. And that can sometimes solve such problems in a somewhat satisfactory way. What we're doing is we're building on top of OpenCog, and in particular the atom space. So what this is really is it brings together, it is a data base for graphs, a hypergraph database reasoning system. And what it really allows for is to put all of these ideas that are ethical and causal and logical together into one map that you can make, essentially, that expresses your entire belief system as the way that you see the world. And then things that can be correct or wrong turn automatically into some sort of a bet. So when you're wrong, you will lose some money. When you're right, you will gain some money. And so in essence you can gain, this is sort of like working to understand the world with your bonus depending on it, right? So if you understand all of the problems that your organization is facing better than other members, you will earn a higher bonus than if you understand it less. And again, this out of the box thinking comes into this as well. So here, to summarize everything, there I have some papers that I think are particularly important. I list them here. I can share the slides later on. And yes, so I guess I'm at the point where I could answer any questions you may have.
So on the wisdom of craft, I believe that Daniel Kahneman said that it only works if there is diversity of the crowd.
Yes.
Diversity in bias. If they all have the same biases, then you won't get a good answer.
Well, that's true, and you can actually use methods to make a crowd artificially more diverse by using certain weighing schemes. So you can, and this has to do with information theory. So you can use information theory to look at models and their differences. And when two models are maybe very brilliant, you can discount one to almost zero because they're the same. You know, like if they're the same, right? You discount one, so that you only really have. In an information theory kind of sense, you really keep only the ones that uniquely add to the view of the collective, right? So you don't want to have too much redundancy. You can weed that out in particular ways. So if your crowd is big enough, you can get a diverse crowd in essence. But of course, for the hiring process, yes, you want to see how people think, and if they think exactly like you do, then you might not want to hire them, right? You might actually purposely seek out people in an organization who will think in a different way. And you can test this out on a trial run on our system. You could use our system partially as an interview method, right? Where you can say, okay, well, let's see you work in this system, right? See how much unique ideas you contribute.